Ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't heard of it already, I'd like to introduce you to Smite. Smite is a free-to-play game by Hi-Rez Studios, the same Hi-Rez Studios that brought us Tribes Ascend, which is why I decided to give it a shot. Now, I've tried to record this video a couple times now, just to let you know. The first time, my video didn't turn out so well, so I just did it again. I was still fairly new to the game, and I thought that would be great. And the video was awesome, except for I didn't record any of the audio somehow. I'm not sure what happened. I tend to get issues with the microphone, but hey, this kind of disappoints me, because what I wanted to do was introduce Smite from the eyes of someone who has never played a MOBA style of game before, because up until now, I have not played any of them. MOBAs or Dota style games are a typically isometric game. They were mods for StarCraft, Warcraft 3. It started with Dawn of the Ancients and why most of the games were called Dota clones. Then comes League of Legends, and Riot Games wants to break away from the name Dota and, coin their own thing so that it's not based on one genre. Kind of like how a lot of first-person shooters used to be called Doom clones until someone actually coined the name first-person shooter. And that's what Riot is trying to do by calling this a MOBA, which is multiplayer online battle arena. Kind of an odd nomenclature, really, but so far it seems to be working. People seem to be using it to refer to this genre. The difference between Smite and others, such as League of Legends, Dota, Dota 2, and the like, is that this one is played from a third-person camera perspective from over the shoulder, as opposed to the RTS-type spectrum of kind of isometric or overhead camera. And I was honestly afraid to get into this. I've seen some of the MOBA-style games, and they looked cool, and I kind of wanted to try them, but there was this little bit of a dauntiness to the way the item system was presented and all that, and so Smite was kind of the first thing I figured, you know what, I'll give it a try because this is a free-to-play, it's from Hi-Rez Studios, I know Hi-Rez Studios does a good job. I could have gotten into Dota 2 because that's free to play as well, but I believe you still need beta keys to get into that, and I just haven't actively sought one out yet. League of Legends, free as well, but I've heard things about their pricing scheme that made me kind of not want to get into that right away. I might look into those more now, though, that I've actually tried this and enjoy this. But I really wanted to do this to show you how it felt as a completely new person, and now I've spent pretty much an entire day playing this over my weekend, which is essentially consisting of Wednesday, Thursday. So yes, I've just ended my weekend. My work week has begun. But yes, you can tell I spent a bit of time because I have some favor, which is the in-game currency. Gems are the real money currency for this game, and what I'll do is I'll show you what you're going to spend your money on, and I'll actually show you something pretty cool here. This is the gods that you can choose from. So Smite is a game very much based on mythology, different types of gods from Chinese, Hindu, Norse, all various gods from across the spectrum here. You start with 5 gods, automatically unlocked. You start with Artemis, goddess of the hunt, Ra, the sun god, Sun Wukong, the monkey king, Ymir, the father of the frost giants, and Kali, goddess of destruction. Now you'll notice I have 5 other gods as well that appear to be highlighted, but you'll also notice they have an exclamation mark, which means they're part of a free rotation. If you've seen my videos on Hawken, then you might know how this works. Basically, every now and then they will rotate in gods, much like Hawken rotates in and out mechs. So every now and then you'll have a handful of new gods to try out and to see if you like them and want to buy them. I think this is a great idea because this gives you a pretty good selection of gods to choose from and gives you an idea of what you might want to do next. They range from physical melee characters, of which you get 2 to start with, physical ranged, of which you get 1, a support class, of which you get 1 as well, Ra, the only other character being Hell, and I will tell you that I have practiced a little bit with Hell. This is one difficult character to use for novices, so beware on that one. Try it first. tanks, of which you get one as well, and mages, of which, oddly enough, is the one class you don't get any of to start with, which is kind of funny considering that with this rotation I have 3 mages to try, but under normal circumstances you'll notice that you do not get one. This is probably because mages seem to be one of the hardest classes to use in this game for newbies. Simply because it takes a little bit of precision, knowing what your cooldowns are, what they do, and having a bit more familiarity with the system as a whole to really get the most out of a mage. So let me show you real quick though, which is kind of nice, what you can get with your gems and for real money here. I'm going to go to the store real quick and go to purchase gems. And what I want to show you is during the beta right now, they have this deal going on for the Ultimate God Pack, $29.99, limited time offer right now. And for $29.99, you can get all the gods, 30 gods. It's basically $1 a god. That is actually a pretty good deal. So you can unlock everything. Now, keep in mind, you can always unlock the gods by playing the game. As you see here, I can click on a god, and you'll see over here the purchase. There's 200 gems, or 5,500 favor. Favor is what you get in game. Now, it took me most of a day to get this much to be able to buy a god, and I can't actually buy all of them. For example, Vulcan here is more expensive than the others. He was added very recently. In fact, this game was patched, I believe, just yesterday, from when I'm recording this video, to another patch beyond that. So, he's new, he's a bit more expensive. This is not bad progression, though. If it takes me about a day of playing pretty good, then just say 2 days worth of casual playing, maybe a bit more, you know. Let's just say give it a week, you know, if you only play an hour or two a day. Then you could easily get a god very quickly. Where you're spending your money in this game, it seems, is going to be in the skins. You can see that, let me pick one that I already have. So, Emir, if I wanted the Obsidian Shard, which is a pretty cool looking skin, you'll notice that's 400 gems. And there's Digimir, who is also 400. Now, regular gods, as you can see, are only 200. So you are paying about twice as much for a skin. But that's pretty cool because some of these skins actually are really cool looking. Some are promotional. For example, Solar Eclipse here, you have to like them on Facebook, I believe. There is the Red Demon of Sun Wukong, which you can see you cannot purchase. It was a promotional item. So there are some of those. Interesting fact here too, by the way. Sun Wukong is a god from Chinese mythology who is the character that Son Goku, if you're familiar with Dragon Ball, was based off of. And it's pretty obvious with the Shaolin Monk E skin having the outfit, not the same kanji on the back, but a very similar outfit to what he wore. Alright, so what I want to do with this is, since I'm introducing it, kind of show you off. Again, this is still kind of going to be from a newbie's perspective, because I even though I've played quite a bit, I'm level 7 now, I'm still pretty new, and I don't really know some of the best builds, and I can kind of tell you what it was like to start off not knowing anything. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play, and before we get into it, show you the different modes you can expect. There's Arena mode, which is a team-based combat system. It's kind of like Team Deathmatch, with a slight twist. During Arena mode, you're going to have NPCs running back and forth to portals, and as the NPCs get through portals, your team's tickets will start to deplete. And so you basically have to not only kill the enemy team, but stop the enemies from getting to, or their enemy NPCs to getting to their portal. So the most important part is killing the enemy usually, but with enough strategy, you can try and keep them at bay and try and get your NPCs into your own portal. You have Conquest, this is the base Dota or MOBA style of gameplay right here. Conquest takes place in what's called lanes. So you have 3 lanes that you have NPCs running back and forth fighting each other, and you have to take down towers. And then after the towers are down, you have to take down a phoenix. And once that's down, you have to eventually kill the enemy's minotaur. So it's a back and forth team-based game that involves a bit more strategy than something like Arena. It's a very interesting mode. If you've ever played a MOBA style game, then you know exactly how this works. Domination is a gameplay mode that plays much like Domination from Call of Duty or Conquest mode from Battlefield. This is where you basically take control points on a map, and you capture the control point in order to start getting points, or in this case, you're actually making the enemy bleed points. So if you control more points than the enemy does, you will eventually win. And so there's a lot of back and forth on that. You would also see this in, say, Missile Assault and Hawkins. So there's a lot of games you can compare this to. A lot of games are using this now. There is Joust, which is a one-on-one duel, but this is much like Arena, a little bit different than a standard duel, because the ultimate goal is to kill the enemy Minotaur still. So you're fighting the enemy as well as fighting their Minotaur. And the reason this works is because as you play, you eventually will start having longer and longer respawn timers, and I'll show you a bit of that as I do the practice. And then this here is Open Season. This is a randomly chosen match for the day, I believe. As you can see, this is the hunt is for Artemis, the goddess of the hunt. So basically everyone in this game is going to be Artemis. So it's a big Artemis multi-man melee. And the reason why this is interesting is that under normal circumstances in your game you can only have one god. One named god. So for example, if I chose Artemis, then no one else on my team can be Artemis. Now, someone on the enemy team can be Artemis, but only one. So in this case, everybody can be Artemis and has to be Artemis. The previous one was one where you had to all be Bacchus, the god of wine. So this will be rotated in, and it'll be different modes, and I think that's kind of interesting to keep things fresh. And as you'll notice, each one of these is eligible for a first victory of the day bonus, which is an XP bonus you get for winning your first match on this type, which is something, again, you might be familiar with if you've played Tribes Ascend. And you can get these rewards multiple times. So if I get my first arena, I can move on and get my first conquest, my first domination. And that's really going to be the best way to start getting some of your favor. Alright, I'll show you the practice so that we can move on here. We have the basic tutorial. I'm not going to do that because that pretty much just tells you how to move. I recommend if you haven't played this, though, give the basic tutorial a shot. Even with the basic tutorial, though, I find that this game doesn't exactly do as much as it could to kind of bridge the gap between, say, casual players or players who may not be casual but who've never played this style of game before and the people who have. So and I'll show you here. Let me go into the practice. This basically pits me one-on-one against the god Ra. And I can choose, here's the best part about this. Solo practice allows me to pick any god I want. All the gods are here at my disposal. So if there's a god I'm thinking about trying, I can simply use it here. And this is the only place you can do this. Any other time you have to either use a god that you've purchased or a god that is currently in your rotation. For this, I will use the Chinese god Hebo. Now, in the beginning, I recommend leaving these two boxes here on the right checked, the auto-level skills and the auto-level items. This is what's going to help you as you move forward and try this genre for the first time. It helped me immensely. I quickly found myself not needing it, at least not for the skills. The item one, I kind of needed a bit more for a bit longer until I found out what all the items do. So I'm going to go ahead and lock in, and it's going to be me against Ra. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what was so daunting and why I stayed away from this kind of game for a while. This is the inventory purchase screen where you can buy items, and I'll go in here. You can see there's all sorts of items. The beautiful thing, though, is that in this game they are sortable. You can go by physical, power, attack speed, critical chance, lifesteal, penetration. Same with magic. You've got power, mana, MP5, lifesteal, penetration, defensive stats, and even other stats such as movement, cooldown percentage, consumable items such as healing potions, and other active abilities. So you have 2 active slots, 2 consumable slots. Now this thing again is using an auto purchase thing for me, so it's already purchased this mark of the Vanguard for me, which gives me 5 physical protection, 5 magical protection, and 155 health, plus it has a passive of reducing all damage by 5. You can see I can turn it off if I want, but if I do, I can't turn it back on in the middle of a match. So let me go ahead and go out there. The match has already begun. You can see there was a bit of prep time that allowed me to move in, but we're just going to go ahead and go in. This is the MOBA style. This is Conquest distilled into one lane. So what you're seeing here is the main lane. And I'm just going to go ahead and use a couple abilities to kind of push them back right now so that you can kind of see the combat as it happens. And let me try and push Raw back here a bit so that I can show you a few more skills and pretty much how the game is played without having to worry about him taking out my towers or anything like that. So let's do that. Let's kind of drive him back a bit. Try and let's see if I can make him run away. Shouldn't be too terribly difficult. Alright, I'm using a potion. I had a potion. I ran low on health. I wanted to use it. Okay, so here we go. I'm level 4. He's level 3. You can tell by the number by him. Oh, he just gained another level. I'm going to go ahead and pretty much hearth back. You can do that at any time, but as you can see, it takes a bit of charging to do, and enemies can interrupt you. Now, you can only purchase items when you're here in your fountain. It doesn't look like a fountain because, well, it's the practice map, and, well, they didn't put a fountain in. It's okay. So there are tons of items. I can bring this up at any time. You can only purchase when you're in the fountain area, though. So you can look anytime you want, including when you're dead, to help you basically pick what you want. So again, the idea here is to help your creep, or your NPCs here, move on to take on that tower you see in the distance. And you saw before that I have one of my own. Alright, so I'm just going to use my abilities here. Raw is now trying to stop me from taking out his minions, and we're just kind of moving back and forth here. Now, if I move into that tower's range, as you saw there, the tower will start targeting me. So if I can't really take out the towers by myself, because if I try, basically that tower will start hitting me and doing a ton of damage to me, and I just really can't survive through that. So what I need to do is help my minions move in. As you see here, what I do is I help them by killing these NPCs, and killing NPCs gives me experience, which will give me more health, more mana, and more gold. You can see the gold in the lower right underneath my level where it shows a 5. Use the gold to buy the items, and they make you more powerful. So once I get my minions to the tower, what happens is the tower will focus on the minions before it focuses on me. There is one exception to that rule. If I'm near a tower and I fight an enemy player or an enemy god, then the tower will focus on me instead of my NPCs, because I am becoming a threat to an enemy player. So the big trade-off here is you kind of have to move in the tower, basically get your NPCs into the tower range so that they will distract the tower and tank for you while you try to take the tower down. Ooh, very nice shot there by Raw. Let's see if I can't help my... yeah, I get him back a bit more. This is going to be a bit difficult. I started a bit disadvantaged from not coming in sooner. So that's the gist of it, and it works the same with the Phoenix and the Minotaur. You basically want your NPCs there to help you fight, so that you can keep going. So with every god you have a passive ability. This is something you have at all times. So for example, Hebo here has Steady Flow. Each time he uses an ability, he's going to get magical power increased by 5% for 5 seconds. It's refreshed every time I use a power, and I can stack it up to 3 times. So I get a 15% magical damage buff for every ability I do. So here we're looking at 5%, 10%, 15%, and then I can go on to just keep doing more damage. Now this is my basic attack. That's my left mouse button. I just fire a water ball, I guess. This is minimal damage. It is, as you can see here, it does decent damage, but my main damage is coming from my abilities here. That you can see that every time I select an ability, it puts a targeting reticle on the ground somewhere, based on what kind of ability is. So my first ability, as you can see, is a cone. My second fires in a line. There you can see the line. My third is a targeting circle. So let's kind of look at what Hebo can do so you can get an idea here. As you level, you can level up your skills. At the beginning, you only get 1 point. Here in practice mode, they start you with 3. Each skill can be leveled up to level 5, but you're kind of capped to how far you can go. So for example, I can't, this is my ultimate here. They call it an ultimate because, well, that's what it is. It does a massive amount of damage. I can't get that up to maximum level until I level up more. They only let me do so much. So let's look at the first ability here. This is Water Cannon. You fire a short burst of water from your sleeves, you damage an enemy in a cone for 90, and of course that damage goes up every time a new point's put in here. So the one downside to the way they have skills listed here is that it really doesn't let you know what kind of increase to expect. I'm just going to go ahead and take them out. That's going to make things easier, and I'll show you what that is. Now you can see at the bottom on my skill bar that every single ability has some kind of cooldown. So when I use an ability, there's a timer. The one that has the 75 on it, that's my ultimate. That is the most damaging ability I have, and the one that's even longer here, that's this one, Meditation, which gives me my mana back. So I have to be careful about using these, because when I die and when I come back to base, they don't get refreshed. They have to meet their cooldown requirements. So as you can see, the computer has chosen more items for me. It is basically given me tanking items so far, items to resist damage. So I've got physical damage protection, magical protection, additional health. With this I have, again, physical and magical protection, plus some hit point regeneration. It also gives me a bit of speed. So I've got 21 speed, and I get more speed if I'm not in combat at the moment, which, you know, you have to actually not be hit for a few seconds. So you can't just be, you know, get hit and then, oh, all of a sudden you don't get hit for a second and you're back. No, it's a couple seconds there. And I've got a reduction in all crowd control durations with that item. My tower is being attacked, as you probably heard from the announcement, and Ra is currently doing a number on that tower. It is hurt on the mini-map in the upper right. You can kind of see how a little bit of black has appeared on the normally blue tower. I'm going to slow Ra down here. Well, no, he didn't fall for that, but I can knock him in the air, and I still have my ultimate, so let's kill him. And there you go, that's how it goes. You just keep doing this. You go back and forth. Now, you want to try and avoid death, especially at the hands of another player. The longer the match goes, the longer it takes you to respawn. And anytime you die, you feed experience to the enemy team. This is probably another reason why it can be a little daunting to play a game like this, because sometimes the community is not entirely accepting of new people. I have been hearing problems regarding that. Smite, I can't really say for sure. I've had a few run-ins with people that were a little hostile, but it wasn't anything too terrible, to be honest with you. For the most part, people have been kind of quiet, and there hasn't been too much said. And I suppose it helps that I am a fairly quick study. I figure this stuff out not too difficultly, and I'm kind of able to just follow along with what other people are doing. So here you go. Here you can see my NPCs are tanking the tower. Towers are not affected by my special abilities, so using a special ability on the tower is pointless right now, in a waste of mana. So I want to make sure I don't waste it now. Now I'll go ahead and use my mana on these NPCs here. Take them out and gain a level. Alright, Ra's coming out. I'm going to avoid him by going back to get more mana because I'm very low. Alright, other skills I have as Heibo. I have Flood Waters. That is the one that's in the line. It is water that bursts forward, causes enemies to move 20% slower, and allows Heibo to move faster. Up to, and you'll notice that they start at 20%. It says move 20% slower, maximum 55, and I can move 20% faster, maximum 55. Alright, that uses a stat. Yeah, let me stop this. Those use a stat called Focus, which is a fairly new stat to the game, from what I understand. It was in the game when I started. There, that didn't kill him, but it made him run. So you have a few stats. You've got defenses, you've got obviously physical offense, magical offense, physical defense, magical defense. Let me just go ahead into the store and you can kind of see this here. Attack speed, penetration, which allows you to go through physical defenses, lifesteal, which gives you health back as you do damage, critical chance, obviously, And focus, it's not obvious what focus does. And this is something I ended up having to look up on the wiki. Focus takes abilities that have things like utility capabilities and increases their ability to do their job, basically. There, that'll scare them off. So, for example, here on Floodwaters, I can slow an enemy by 20%, but with additional focus, and focus goes up to 100, I'll show you how I know that, just because, again, I'm trying to make sure I give anyone that's new enough information. You'll see here focus, this number in the bracket, that's the maximum. So it's 20%, and for each point of focus I get a percentage of this maximum. So it's 20% now. If I get 100 focus, it'll go up to 55%. So that's how it works. It's for abilities like this. So, for example, let's look at Water Spout. That's the third ability. As you can see, the computer has maxed it for me. I funnel water into the ground, continuing to control it to burst out of the ground with tremendous force is the location I choose. It does 280 damage, and it does an additional 102 because the computer has bought several items of magical power increasing for me, so that's really doing 380. The magical damage to enemies in the area knocks them into the air and slows them by 25%, plus an additional for whatever focus I have, up to a maximum of 35. So, Habo, as you can see, is a fairly utility character, but he can also do quite a bit of damage. His natural ability to increase his damage with every spell that he casts makes him a force to be reckoned with. And that's why what you see me do here is I'll attack normally when I'm not worried about killing something quickly, but I always lead off with my second ability to slow them down. Then I use this ability, which does quite a bit of damage, and then my Spout, which is my highest damaging ability. By that point, I should have the most magical boosts on me. So now what I'm doing is I'm returning back because I've got over 1,800 gold. I want to do that because I'm coming back to get items. So now I've got this wonderful thing called the Book of Thoth. This is great because it permanently gives me 10 mana for every minion, which is an NPC killed, up to 50 stacks, and I get 3% of my mana converted to magical power. So even though I'm going over these items, and I know that can be kind of daunting because of how many items there are if you haven't done anything like this, and the reason why it's daunting is because you are given a very small time limit to choose your items. You know, if other players are waiting and you've got a match about to happen and you're not sure what to buy, I can see where that would be kind of scary, honestly. It was scary for me. I really didn't want to do it for a long time because I was just kind of afraid of letting people down, you know, getting a team killed. Because one thing that a lot of people don't like are what they call feeders. And feeders are players that go out and get themselves killed over and over and over again. See, in a game like Hawken or Tribes, dying over and over and over to the enemy is not a bad thing in general. Simply because you respawn, you get back into the fight, and you're fine. Granted, it means you kind of need more experience, and yes, your team has to compensate for your lack of skill, but you're not really hurting your team in a major way. In this game, if you die to the enemy, they get extra experience, and therefore they get boosts, and that's why they're called feeders, because you're feeding them experience. So one thing I recommend is try this mode here that I'm playing right now, this solo mode, and get used to the controls, get used to the game, and try that before you move on into the full game, you know, before you move out into the competitive part. Now, I can't say if dying to NPCs is a bad thing. I've done it. I don't know if it's really bad. But I would recommend it anytime you have to. Just retreat. Pull back. Let the computer buy you weapons and items. So you see, every time I go back, it's giving me items because I happen to get gold. So keep that checked. Keep the item thing checked, and you don't have to worry about buying items. You don't even have to worry about buying skills. The game gives you the skills as you level when you have that checked. And once you feel comfortable with this, like especially if you've played maybe Diablo games or action RPG games like that, you'll get used to these skills. I'm honestly very comfortable with the skills. It only took about one match before I realized I could probably make a build with the skills by myself. It took longer to do the items. And what I did, and what you can do, is click here on the recommended list and look at what they suggest for items. And then go in here into the item tab and say, well, maybe I don't like this Mark of the Vanguard, which is physical protection. Maybe I want a different type of physical protection. Well, I can come up here to Defense Physical and just look through all the items that are similar and decide to pick something else. Maybe I want to increase my magical power further. Well, there I go. I can click on Power here and look through the items. And you can practice here in this solo game in order to determine if it's an item you want. Now, I've been using it. Let me show you what Crushing Wave is. This is transform into a wave, crash forward, damaging all enemies in the path for 530. That's at level 3. So as you can see, my health is at 2,000. 500 is a pretty good chunk. That's a quarter of my health. And it's boosted by my magical power to do 350 more. So that's like 900 health. That's half of my health bar. And unless the enemy is a tank, that's a pretty damn high amount of their health too. Especially when I'm doing things like that. I could actually probably kill him with this now. And I did. So what I like is that there's these marks on the ground that show you exactly where your abilities are going to go. And what I really like about this is that it's very skill-based, honestly. Because every time I fire like this, I have to aim myself. This is not an auto-aim type of game. If I use an ability, I have to make sure it's going to land where I want. And all the ground targeting is pretty interesting to use, because you're not using, obviously, a mouse pointer like you would in, say, a Diablo game or something like that. So it takes some amount of skill to get it right. Now, it's not to say that other games of this style don't take skill. That's not my implication on that. I just think that there's a certain amount of aiming and that it can be... It's a little more action-oriented, I think. Because with the other MOBA games, again, they're RTS style. They were based off of StarCraft and Warcraft. And you pretty much click on your opponent, and your character, if he's got a standard attack, will automatically aim for that character for you. This isn't a bad thing. I mean, games like Diablo still have some skill involved in them, and as do these MOBAs. Oh, there we go. There's my death. As you can see, the Phoenix killed me on that one. And you can see I have a 28-second respawn. Now, this is because the game has been going on for about 17 minutes, as you can see on the right. If this death had occurred at the very beginning, I would be looking at maybe a 1 to 2 second respawn. I have had myself sit in a respawn queue because the game went on so long for a minute and a half. That's bad. Once the game gets going that long, dying is very, very bad. And you will basically set your team back by being down. So let me show you the one other thing about this game that I haven't gone into that's a staple of other games of this genre is the jungle. This is what you call jungling. Moving out, and you'll see there's NPCs here. And what they do is they'll give me a buff if I kill them. So I could go in through here and gain levels by killing them, but I was more concerned with raw taking my tower. So what I'll do is I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to take out this guy. This guy has a buff that... let me see, this is... Wait, that says Jungle Camp Health. Okay, that's odd. This is the cooldown. It should be the cooldown reduction. Let me see if that tooltip is wrong. Okay, yeah, this one is the cooldown reduction camp. As you can see by the icon there, it looks like kind of a clock. This will reduce the cooldown of all my skills by a percentage, so that I can fire them off faster. The other thing it does is this is recent. This was I think just one or two patches ago. Is it will increase my focus. So that other stat I had talked about before, which helps with controlling effects or movement speed effects. Over here, we've got a camp that's fairly important. This is the attack damage camp. So this will increase your physical and magical damage. You can tell by looking at the icon. The icon for this guy is a sword. The icon for the other guy was kind of a clock. If you look up here, this one looks like a blue potion, right? Well, that's exactly what it is. This is for mana. If I kill these enemies here, I can get myself mana regeneration. So now I have a certain amount of mana regenerating a little faster than I had before, so I can attack more frequently now. So it's a good combination to have, actually, at this point. I've got... oh, come on, don't let him get away. Ah, he got away. Okay. Oop, I need to back away from the Phoenix. What's happened is the Phoenix is locked onto me because I was fighting Ra, and he will keep fighting me until I leave his radius. So now what I'm trying to do is make sure I move in, I let my NPCs tank him, and I take out the Phoenix. So let's just go ahead and do that.
Your team has destroyed a middle enemy Phoenix.
Alright, I'm going to take Ra down a peg here. Wow, that was a lot more damage, and probably because of my buffs. Alright, let's look over here. This one, that's the clock again, so we don't have to worry about that. And then further down is, again, mana regen. This one is different. This is movement speed. You can see by the double arrow. This has also recently been changed to not only offer movement speed, while the tooltips on these are way off. They haven't updated those. Okay, not only is it movement speed, but it's attack speed as well. So with all these buffs I have right now, not only am I attacking a bit faster normally, all my cooldowns are faster now, I have more damage. I've basically become very dangerous, and it's something you probably want to watch out for if your opponent has it. Now, what killing this Phoenix does for you is, this is why this is a game changer. Killing the Phoenix, you'll see that all of my minions now have, I should have said that for the Minotaur. All of my minions now have flaming weapons. So they're going to do more damage, and they're also tougher to kill, from what I've seen. And so now they can distract the Minotaur. Now the Minotaur, unlike the other creatures that I've fought, is not immune to my special abilities. So the Phoenix and the Towers are immune to special abilities, but the Minotaur is not. So he's kind of like a final boss that you just have to sit there, hit with all your might, and take him out, and therefore you win the game. So that was just kind of a 20-minute tutorial there. As you can see, it takes a lot of back and forth because it's one-on-one. So doing things like jungling against Ra here by yourself, not really recommended, because he'll just start taking out your tower. And if he just keeps taking out your tower, then, well, he's going to win. So what you want to do is kind of level up by killing the creep in the middle, basically kill his minions, and then start working on him, knock him back, maybe kill him. If you can kill Ra and take him out of the battle for a bit, then you can go out and try the jungling a bit and see how that feels. So what I'll do is I'm going to play with my character that I've been doing for a while, that's Sun Wukong, and I've been doing a jungle build with him, and I'll show you how I do my customization on him, and to kind of give you an idea of what you can do in the game and what a real match is like. So this has just been a look at it. What I'll do is I'll provide a referral link at the bottom for anyone that wants to try the game. Please use the referral link. It helps. It helps me. It basically will give me some referral credit and, of course, additional favor. And with that, I could go on to make more of these. I know there's already a lot of people covering Smite, especially people that were in a closed beta, because there was no NDA for a long time there. But I'd still like to be able to go through it if people would like to see it, especially with the brand of commentary that I do on it. At the very least, I still want to do a few matches, but use the referral link at the bottom. If you've already signed up for Tribes Ascend through me, I believe that's fine and you don't have to do it again. You can certainly try. The thing is, if you've already got an account for Hi-Res's webpage, then you're not going to be able to really make a new one because it's locked to the email account. I'm actually in discussion with them right now about that to find out what happens, and I'll probably let you know. Anyway, if that doesn't work, don't worry about it. Just go to the site. The game is in open beta now, so you can just go there and download it, especially if you've already got an account. Give it a shot. Again, this is free to play. You start with 5 gods. The game has been quite fun. The starting gods have been great to me so far, and I mean, I could play with Sun Wukong all day and just enjoy playing him, but I kind of want to try the others too and see what I'm missing out there. So, alright, that's Smite, open beta once again. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time.